Hey guys, and welcome back to the Political Whiz, where you will find all the whiz on politics and history. And today we will be taking a look into the 2020 Kentucky Senate Democratic primary, which will be held this Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. And now let's take a look into the candidates. Amy McGrath started out by serving with the Marine Corps. She was the first woman to take part in combat missions during her time served. She taught political science as a professor at the Naval Academy. She came into national attention during the 2018 midterms by challenging Republican incumbent Andy Barr in Kentucky's 6th congressional district, and her ads went viral. And although she lost the race, it was one of the closest congressional races of that year. She lost by only 3 points and is now running for Senator of Kentucky. Moving on now to Charles Booker. Charles Booker worked in several state-level offices for the state of Kentucky. He has worked in the Legislative Research Commission of Kentucky and the Fish and Wildlife Department for Kentucky. He lost his first primary election in 2016 to incumbent Gerald Neal in the 33rd District of the Kentucky State Senate, ultimately finishing third place with 20% of the vote compared to Neal winning 48% of the vote. However, Booker ran for an open seat in the 43rd District of the Kentucky House of Representatives, winning a competitive Democratic primary. He currently is the member of the Kentucky House of Representatives representing the 43rd District. Our next and final candidate is Mike Breuer. Like Amy McGrath, Breuer too served in the Marine Corps. He graduated with a master's in systems of management from the Naval Postgraduate School. He was then discharged from the military in 2005, and since then he has been a farmer, substitute teacher in the Lincoln County School District, as well as editor for a local newspaper. Now that we're done looking at each candidate, let's take a look at the significance of this race. Now, we all know that this primary is important because of the two Democratic factions of the Democratic Party, moderates and progressives, are trying to gain control over the party. However, this primary is different and there is more besides this. The senator up for re-election is Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who has served for about 3 decades as Kentucky's senator and is one of the most unpopular senators in the United States, which I will discuss more in my future videos. However, for the time being, Democrats have worked hard to flip seats blue in order to gain back control of the Senate, which they lost 6 years ago, and many Democrats have targeted Mitch McConnell, and many Democratic grassroots organizations and super PACs have raised a lot of money in order to unseat the Senate Majority Leader. For this reason, it is of the utmost importance to select the right Democratic nominee if the Democrats are seriously considering unseating him. We are now going to move on to the endorsements. As we can see from this list, Amy McGrath has received endorsements from notable people such as former presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg and Senators Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Cory Booker, and Chris Murphy, as well as endorsements from governors such as Steve Bullock and Jay Inslee, and former Congresswoman Katie Hill, and from 20 other grassroots organizations. Charles Booker has received endorsements from notable people such as Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, former presidential candidates Tom Steyer, former HUD Secretary Julian Castro, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and 9 other grassroots organizations. Mike Breuer, on the other hand, has received endorsements from former presidential candidates Andrew Yang, Marianne Williamson, and Richard Ojeda, as well as 4 other grassroots organizations. Basing off of this, we can conclude that Amy McGrath is clearly a moderate since she has received endorsements from notable moderates. Charles Booker received endorsements from notable progressives, and the same is the case for Breuer. However, Booker has more notable progressive endorsements than Breuer, which highlights a matchup between Booker and McGrath. And now we're going to take a look at the money raised by each campaign. According to this data, McGrath has raised about $41 million, Booker has raised about $780,000, and Breuer has raised about $500,000. Amy McGrath absolutely has the advantage than any of her other opponents due to the amount of money raised by her. And now moving on to the polling data for this race. Unlike the previous data, which showed that McGrath had the absolute advantage, the polls show a much different story. As you can see that earlier in the race, McGrath was leading her opponent, Booker, by wide margins. However, the situation in recent days have changed with Booker pulling ahead. One might ask the question, well, how is it that Booker has raised way less money than his opponent McGrath, yet is almost neck and neck with her? Why is that? Well, that's because of the recent situation that has taken place not only in America, but also in Kentucky, with the Black Lives Matter movement gaining a lot of national momentum. And as a result of the protest by Black Lives Matter activists and their now more powerful movement, it has not only influenced other elections, such as the presidential election, but also the Kentucky Senate Democratic primary. In addition, Booker has racked up endorsements from notable progressives like Sanders and Warren, and this has aided him a lot by pulling ahead, and this support clearly shows that it has paid off with him closing in the gaps in the polls. Finally, we are going to wrap things up with my analysis. Without a doubt, this is an important Democratic primary since this isn't only about gaining control of the Senate for Democrats, but this is about unseating a party leader, which is very difficult, and for this reason, choosing the right nominee is important. Due to the recent events that have taken place and the endorsements of notable politicians, the primary has now become competitive, and the data shows mainly a matchup between Booker and McGrath. After seeing this data, I honestly believe that Amy McGrath will win the Democratic primary. However, I also believe that this will be a close race between McGrath and her opponent Booker. If Booker does win, it's definite that Mitch McConnell has a greater chance of winning his seat, and that's because Booker leans a little to the left than McGrath, and her moderate to centrist positions can make it easier for Democrats to unseat the majority leader. And now, I ask you, who do you think will be the winner for this Tuesday's Democratic primary? Make sure to comment down below. In the meantime, that's all for now. Like, subscribe, and share this video. Turn on the bell icon to be notified whenever I post. Please comment or suggest down below as this will help me improve my future videos. Follow me on Twitter at political_wiz. Thanks for watching.